OK, you can begin to tell me about a person you admire now.
I've had many teachers throughout my education, but of the teachers who have taught me through my school life, Bahar Hanim is the one that I most admire. She was my English teacher at high school. In contrast to our other teachers who were grumpy and unenthusiastic, she was always amusing and thoughtful. Bahar Hanim won everyone over to her as soon as she began teaching us. But although she was fun and helpful in class, she was also quite strict. She pushed us to do our best and punctual. Everyone had to be in class on time every time, and this was something that all of us appreciated. Bahar Hanim had a real interest in her job and in her students, so she was always in a good mood when she entered the classroom. Her classes were always interesting and lively. She was a confident and hard-working teacher, and nothing was too much trouble for her. If a student needed help, she was very generous with her time. To sum up, I can say she was a gifted and talented teacher, and I learned a lot from her, not just English.
Have you ever lost anything that was really valuable?
I haven't lost anything that was expensive, but I have lost things that were valuable to me, but only to me. 2 years ago, I lost a great jacket. It was a used, stripy, yellow and white polyfiber skiing jacket. It was quite soft and smooth, but a bit bulky to keep out the cold.
What's the most important thing you own, and why is it important to you?
One of my most important possessions is my bag, because I keep all my other important things in it. It's a large, square, flowery Italian shopping bag, quite old and battered now, but I still use it because I can get all my stuff inside it.
Tell me, what's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you?
Oh, that was when my husband's colleague invited us round for dinner. I had a bit of wine, and we were having a good chat about valuable old objects, when Roberto brought out this big, antique, blue-coloured Chinese ceramic flower vase and asked me to hold it. Well, you can guess what happened. It slipped, crash, into a million pieces all over the floor.
So, when are you thinking of visiting Hargate?
Next weekend, actually. Have you been there at all?
My parents live there. Let me tell you something about it.
Great. Here's a pen and paper. Draw me a map.
Right. We'll start with the coast. Hargate is on a bay, East Bay, and the river runs through the town and into the bay.
Okay.
So the bay area is very popular with people. And if you go to the waterfront, that's the road that goes along the bay, in the evening you'll see lots of people walking along, doing exercises, street theatre, all kinds of things.
That sounds nice. What's that to the north of the bay?
North of the bay is the harbour. Sailing is very popular, and lots of people have boats there. Some rich people even have very large boats. The area behind the harbour is Castle Hill.
Because there's a castle there.
There's a really nice park there, and good views over the town. If you look south, you'll see the entertainment district, with bars, restaurants, hotels and lots of nightlife.
Okay.
And to the west of the entertainment district, where the railway station is, you can find the inner city residential quarter, where a lot of the people who live and work here all year live.
Is there another residential area?
Yes, it's on another hill outside the town. It's a suburb called Hargate Hill. Between Hargate Hill and the main town is the industrial sector, where you can find the factories and small businesses, some supermarkets too.
So really the interesting places for me are the waterfront, Castle Hill, the harbour and the theatre district.
I think so.
So tell me more about the nightlife. I'd like to...
Extract 1.
Our next city of culture in this lecture is Glasgow. Glasgow became the European City of Culture in 1990. It is a modern, multicultural city with people from many ethnic backgrounds in the western part of Scotland, built on both sides of the River Clyde. It is the country's second city and was an industrial centre with shipbuilding as its major industry. Today, the shipbuilding industry is less important, and the city has reinvented itself as a tourist centre with many visitors to the city.
Extract 2. So, Kashif, where do you come from?
I come from the capital city of Pakistan, Islamabad, which is one of the most modern cities in the South Asian region.
Is that a nice place to live?
Yes, it has a temperate climate because it's surrounded by mountains. The city is divided into zones: administrative and residential areas, industrial sectors, and green areas. It's a very young and vibrant city. It's exciting with lots to do. With lots of commerce and industry, it's Pakistan's largest metropolitan city.
Extract 3.
Yokohama is a coastal city on Honshu Island, on the Bay of Tokyo. It's a major port and also a regional capital. I have lived there all my life, and I like it very much. It's very crowded, the second most populous city in Japan, but it has a cosmopolitan feel to the city because of the Western-style buildings, Chinese temples, and international restaurants, especially in the suburb of Yamate, just outside the city centre, with its churches and tea shops, a bit like England, really.
Preparation is the key to giving a good presentation. It can be the difference between a great success and a total flop. So, keep these key points in mind during your preparations in order to make a good impression on your audience. Make sure the audience can see both you and any visual aids you plan to use. Your presentation will go badly wrong if you obstruct screens by standing in front of them. You can make things easier for yourself by checking where you plan to stand in the room in advance and make slight adjustments if necessary. State at the beginning what you are going to talk about and make a list of the main points. Make an effort to ensure that your presentation has a logical order. Emphasizing your key points by using visual aids or by alerting your audience to key points coming up can make a real difference. Make eye contact with your audience, but don't just focus on one person. Look around at different people. Don't make the mistake of simply reading from a script. It will be a recipe for disaster, and you will be doomed to failure. Not only will it affect the flow of your delivery, you will bore your audience too. Making notes and using them as prompts will help you sound more natural and increase your chances of giving a winning performance.
Well, I finished doing my research, so I need to start working on my dissertation. I've never written one before, but basically I know what I need to do. I'll be explaining what I set out to learn and why, how I conducted my research and what I discovered. And what conclusions I reached, of course. That's the most important part.
We usually take these exams between the ages of 16 and 18. I'm taking 3, but some people do 5 of them. They are really important because they are the entrance requirement for university degrees.
We start studying for them at the age of 14. I'm taking 8, but some of my friends are doing 10. What I like about them is that we are not just assessed on exams. Our coursework is taken into consideration too.
Today I'm going to talk about the Gulfstream. This is a warm ocean current which originates in the Gulf of Mexico and then flows northeast across the Atlantic Ocean. It influences the climate of the UK and northwestern Europe by bringing humid, mild air with it. Within the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulfstream is very narrow, only 80 kilometres wide, and travels very fast at nearly 5 kilometres per hour, carrying water at 25 degrees centigrade. When it reaches the North Atlantic, it widens considerably to many hundred kilometres and splits into several smaller currents. Because the water in the Gulf Stream has high salinity, it sinks to the bottom of the ocean when it gets there. The Gulf Stream is one of the strongest currents known anywhere in the world. Without its influence, the UK and other places in Europe would be as cold as Canada at the same latitude.
And as we approach the main atrium, you can see some people walking about with sandwiches and coffee. The food court is located here, and you can get most things here, from snacks and light meals to a full 3-course meal. And there are lots of different cuisines to choose from: Chinese, Italian, and of course, British. So let me tell you a bit more about what you can get here. Over there is the Uni Buffet. It's a small cafe where you can get snacks like a chocolate bar or biscuits. You can also get tea, coffee, and other hot beverages or drinks. It's great when you're running out of one lecture to get to another and you need to eat something quickly. Next to it is the Fair and Fast food. It's a fair trade fast food outlet and sells sandwiches, salads, light meals, even homemade hamburgers, which are very good by the way and are made by Melissa over there. There's no junk food here though. Even the burgers are healthy. Finally, on D floor we have the University Refectory. That is the university restaurant. You can get a 3-course meal here, or a starter, something small like a soup before the main meal, or main course, where you have a choice of full meals, and side dishes like garlic bread or chips to go with the main meal, and of course a sweet or dessert to finish off your meal. People who don't eat meat can get a vegetarian meal. But for people who don't eat meat or dairy products like milk and cheese, vegans that is, there isn't really a great choice of vegan food.
So, how would you describe the food in your country? What kind of things do people like to eat where you're from?
Well, I'm from Hungary, from Szeged, and our town is quite famous in Hungary for its cuisine. How would I describe Hungarian food? Well, it's delicious, that's the first thing to say, but it's not for people who want to lose weight and it's not for vegetarians. We use a lot of meat, mainly pork, and we like to eat sour cream and pickles too. Our pickles are fantastic. And of course we use a lot of red pepper or paprika in our cooking, and this makes it slightly spicy. Some people can find Hungarian main courses quite heavy, but our starters, our soups are quite light, and our cakes are just heavenly. The best way to spend an afternoon in Hungary is to go to a coffee shop, buy a cake, and chat with a few friends.
That sounds like a great way to pass the time.
In Chinese medicine, a more holistic view of the patient is taken. Whereas conventional medicine in the West primarily treats the symptoms or signs of a disease, the Chinese approach is to consider the whole person. In the treatment of cancer, for example, Fu-Zhen therapy uses special vitamins and herbs alongside modern radiotherapy to strengthen the body's ability to fight the disease. These herbs can help to counter the negative effects of chemicals used in chemotherapy and can also help them to work more efficiently. The Chinese believe that good diet and exercise are of greater benefit to health than pills or injections, and many Westerners are now using Chinese medicine in conjunction with modern techniques.
1. When I need advice about my children's health, I go to the clinic in the high street. 2. Maria cut her hand very badly, so we had to take her to A&E at the big hospital in the city. 3. After the operation, they put him in a bed in the recovery ward. 4. There is no need for you to stay in hospital any longer. Just come to the outpatients department in 2 weeks' time and we'll give you a check-up. 5. A lot of people have colds at the moment, so the doctor's waiting room is very full. 6. I'm afraid he's really very ill, and they don't think he's going to get better, so they've found him a peaceful room in the hospice. 7. The doctor's surgery is open from 8:30 until 3 in the afternoon. 8. The operation will take place in the theatre on the second floor.
A. I present the evening news on live television, which involves doing live interviews on the main news stories of the day. To do my job, you've got to be quick-thinking and not panic under pressure. B.
My job combines a mixture of researching interesting stories, writing, going out and filming, and talking to people about what they've done. I film with a camera crew and work with an editor. I like working to deadlines. It forces you to write accurately in the time slot you are allocated to deliver the story on TV.
C.
I present my own radio show, and it's a mixture of R&B and hip-hop. Presenting isn't just about talking, though. It includes a lot of research. I've got to interview people, so a lot of background work goes into that.
D.
At the moment, I'm working on a website aimed at students. I've got to come up with a new look and feel. It's fun because I can experiment with the design. It's a very creative job, and it's great when you see your final work go live.
E.
I edit the output for interactive television news. A lot of my time is spent cutting or changing the material. I really enjoy dealing with breaking news, and I like the fact that the job keeps changing as new ways of presenting news are developed in response to new technology.
F.
I review all the new films and DVDs each week on a radio program. You have to have patience and an open mind, although watching bad films at 9 a.m. screenings can make this very difficult indeed. But I love watching films, pure and simple. I have a student loan, which pays for my university tuition fees, and I have a maintenance grant on top of that. This is the money that I have to manage on a day-to-day basis. It pays for my accommodation and food. I also have a part-time job, and I use that income to buy other things, such as clothes and CDs.
I've actually been very disciplined and careful with my money so far, and regularly check my balance. I keep a note of my transactions so that I can keep on top of things. Obviously, if I go and get a pizza or something, I don't bother writing that down. But if I take out a lot of money, I do keep a note of it, so that I know what I spent it on. I know that one day I'll have to pay back the loan, but this shouldn't be too much of a problem once I've graduated and got myself a job.
One. 2.205. 2. 1.60934. 3. 0.1056. 4. 16. 5. 32 degrees. 6. 4.54596. 1. 24 plus 8 equals 32. 2. 906 minus 12 is 894. 3. 72 divided by 11 is 6.545545. 4. The square root of 16 is 4. 5. 1 fluid ounce is the same as 28.4131 cubic centimetres. 6. 12 inches equal 1 foot. 3 feet equal 1 yard. 7. 73 kilometres per hour. 8. 64%. 9. $520.99. 10. 6,522,313. 1. 20,482. 2. 58,926. 3. 4,001,000. 4. 10,500,000. 5. 79,425,672.
Uranium concentrate is vital for nuclear power production, but the byproducts can also be used to make nuclear weapons. World production of uranium in 2007 was 41,279 tons. Nationally, Canada produced the most uranium, 9,476 tons, followed by Australia with a total of 8,611 tons. Australia has the highest resources of all the nations, with an estimated 23% of all the uranium in the world. That's nearly a quarter. Canada, by comparison, has only 8% of the global uranium resources, about a third of Australia's. Surprisingly, the huge nations of China and India have only 1% of the total uranium resources. So, how much uranium is needed to make a nuclear warhead? Well, it takes 12,000 tons of unprocessed uranium to make 10 tons of yellow cake. This yellow cake then has to be further processed to produce weapons-grade uranium. 10 tons of yellow cake can produce only 20 to 25 kilograms of this weapons-grade uranium-235, which is enough for one nuclear warhead. It could also provide 600 kilograms of civil-grade uranium, which is equivalent to 30 million kilowatt-hours, enough to power Greater London for a day. I've got a very close immediate family, and I love them all, of course. But I've also got a large extended family, 32 people altogether, and I'm going to tell you about one of them. I'm going to talk about my father-in-law. I've known him for about 10 years now, and he's a person I really respect and get on well with. We became related when I married his daughter. My wife looks quite like him, and she takes after him in many ways. They are both funny and full of life. I like him most because, although he's a successful business person, he doesn't show off, and he always finds time to help you. Finally, we have lots of things in common. We both like golf, and we're both great cooks, so we often do these things together.
Hi, Jenny. What did you do in the holidays?
Well, Susie and I decided to go on an adventure holiday in the Lake District, but most of the adventures happened before we even got there. We were going to take the bus to Euston, then catch a train to Windermere. After that, we thought we could hire bicycles and then ride them to the hostel. It's about 15 miles, but we're both quite fit.
So what happened?
When the bus finally came, it was full, so we couldn't get on. There wasn't enough time to wait for the next one, so we called a taxi. We got in the taxi and asked the driver to go to Euston as quickly as possible, but the traffic was so bad it took nearly half an hour, and we missed the train.
Oh no, you must have been really worried.
I was nearly ready to give up and go home, but Susie was determined to carry on. The taxi fare was nearly £50 as well. But we caught the next train, and when we got off at Windermere, it was so beautiful I was glad we had carried on. We got our bikes and rode them to the hostel, but we fell off a couple of times because our rucksacks were so heavy.
And what about the rest of the holiday?
It was great. We did a lot of walking and all kinds of water sports. Canoeing, sailing, whitewater rafting, and we went rock climbing and horse riding. Susie did a bungee jump, but I didn't want to do that. I went skydiving instead. It was great.
What happened when our loving and cheerful child turned 13? Where did our cooperative and enthusiastic child go? And who is that rebellious person in their place? Today, I'm going to talk briefly about teenage behaviour. The good news is that it doesn't last long. Studies show that uncooperative behaviour in boys begins at 13, peaks at 17, and by early adulthood, most of it has stopped completely. Teenagers are often moody because, although they are physically adult, their brains are not mature enough to think in a sensible way. This means that they become frustrated that they are not allowed to do all the things that adults do.
So, Mina, you've told me about your best friend. What do you think are the most important qualities for friends to have?
For me, the most important things are for friends to be even-tempered and kind. They help you if you have problems, so they need to be sympathetic. I like people who are cheerful. It's just depressing to be around people who are pessimistic about life. I don't like people who are selfish either.
So, is it easy or difficult getting a job in your country nowadays?
It's really not easy. It's so difficult. Before I came here, I was working in an accounts department as a trainee, but it was so hard to get the job.
What did you have to do to get it?
Well, I was looking for a job hunting for about 2 months before I found a vacancy, a job with a company.
Was that in the newspaper or on the internet or...?
Actually, it was through a recruitment agency, a kind of office where they find jobs for people. Then I had to complete an application form, a form where you give details of your qualifications and experience to the company, together with my CV, a list of my work and education experience. Luckily, I was asked to go for an interview, a formal talk with the company, and they gave me the job. They hired me right after the interview.
That's quite unusual.
I guess they liked me. I got my contract, my agreement to work for them, a week later, and started working for my salary, my monthly pay with them, after signing the contract.